area neighborhood. What's good? What's good? What's good? Um, Lord, help me share a little bit of this testimony without blaming others, without there being any emotions. But Lord, let the intentions come off right to the viewers. You people that might run across this, that it'll just shine light really on my story, but for the most part, what you have protected me, and how you've been real, and how you've been such a good heavenly Father in my life, and what you have brought me through. You know what I mean? This isn't about being a victim, but this is about sharing how much God can be with you if your heart is for Him. You know what I'm saying? If you seek Him, and you do your best to be righteous and stuff like that. This is how much God will be for you. So going right into it. So look, y'all. I part of my calling is to talk about witchcraft, y'all. I'm always gonna talk about this because now that God has opened my eyes uh, on what was going on. You know what I mean? This is how I've been attacked my whole life, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Just a bunch of and what is witchcraft? It's pretty much someone that is jealous, um, someone who's jealous that takes demonic means, just like we take means. That's why we go pray to God, and might get an answer from God, or we might go to the altar at the church, or the altar is Jesus Christ now. You know what I'm saying? But since Satan is a copycat, he don't have a savior, so he needs you to go get some things, and um, develop hatred and jealousy in your heart, and then you start spewing out word curses like "I hope you die," and it would not be well with you, and certain things like that. And why does that matter? People might say, "Oh man, you're doing too much. You spending too much emphasis on that and all this and that." Why? What do you mean? When God said, "Death and life is in the power of the tongue," you know what I'm saying? So, you know, first off, even I would say all the way up until now, the reason why things have been so hard in my life is because I've had the closest people to me that pretty much didn't want to see me do good. You know what I mean? They, I'm gonna start with my mother's side. I got clarity because I kept crying out, "Why, Lord? Why when I'm 10 years old, and I went to jail when I was like 10 years old. Why does it seem like and nobody came?" Actually, they came to visit me, but I used to wonder little things, ask God questions like this: how come it seemed like when I'm locked up or doing bad, that my mom uh, and other family members, had got smiles on their face, and they would, but it's all because I was chosen. You know what I'm saying? It's all because I was chosen. They might have not known that, or they might have rejected that, but God said He chose you in your mother's womb. So I'm talking about at a young age, I would get in trouble at school. My mom never stuck up for me. She always said, "You got to get your act right." She always took the other person's side. You know what I'm saying? Instead of protecting me, I got kicked out when I was young. You know what I'm saying? 10, kept getting kicked out, and it just seemed like reject. I was, why I did a lot of things I did. It left me open to all kinds of sin because I was rejected by my mother. I was rejected by my cousins. I was rejected by my aunts and my aunties. My aunties and my uncles and stuff like that. I would go over some of my aunties' house, and when they would look at me, give me evil eye, and you know, um, tell me things. You're just gonna be just like your father, and I mean all kinds of stuff. You know what I'm saying? They would say things that were just unimaginable to me. So this is what led me to the streets at a young age. I stepped off the porch at like 11. I'm hanging out with people that are 19. I'm 11. Right? We smoking, we drinking, and all that. The abuse I received in my house, in my household, and in my family left me open to any abuse that the world could give, or any sin that the world could give. Just trying to find my way to survive. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, and I believe it's time for me to start sharing my story. They got a story and all this and that, and Satan has a story, but this is how God has kept me. At the age of 10, I'm in jail. You know what I mean? The earliest I was able to go, you're able to go to jail is 10. They waited to my 10th birthday, took me to jail. Um, I would get visits from my mom, and I think my dad even came to visit me. This had nothing to do with him at that time. You know what I'm saying? Um, but my mom would come visit, smile on her face, things like that, and But when I was out there, she always acted like I was a burden onto her. You know what I'm saying? And she just kept. I can't. It's hard to remember because it go far back, but I just received so much hatred every time I got in trouble. I didn't get any support. They compounded my problems or what I did, and kept saying it was my fault and all this and that, but never gave me any solution. You know what I'm saying? Never gave me no real solution, or never really prayed for me. You know what I'm saying? To for the Lord to help me like that, and I believe that wasn't all the time, but it was just never consistent. I didn't get any support. My aunts, my uncles, my cousins never came to see me in jail. I'm 10 years old. They never told me, Ariana, it's gonna be okay. I don't know their story like that because we were so divided, and the reason why we were divided was because I had witches in my family, aunts and aunties and stuff like that. They, come to find they were witches. I had to do research on that. What's a witch? It's not always someone that does spells and all this and that, like collects um, rabbit tails and skulls and bones and all that. But a witch is someone that makes an agreement with the devil for wealth, or whatever, to get out of something. You know what I'm saying? They go to a witch or a medium or something like that. To instead of going to God, they go to the devil and make a deal with him. And in order to do that, you got to make a sacrifice with God and the devil. God asks you to present yourself as a living sacrifice, so your body be holy. The devil's going to ask you to give up your son, give up somebody you love, a family member. And I believe I was the one. I believe they said, I'll give up my little nephew. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know, and so I used to always wonder why I was so close to death. I'm out 10 years old, hanging out with, what I'm saying, because I'm not receiving any love in my house. My mom used to be on the phone all the time, never gave me attention. I remember one time she pushed me down, and I'm like 9 years old. She just pushed me down. You know what I'm saying? And I'm crying and everything. You know what I'm saying? So eventually, I just started hanging out in the streets at a young age, at like 9, because I would get more love from them, and still was getting abused. You know what I'm saying? You know, you know, uh, what I'm saying, I was getting sexually abused. What I mean, by older men. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's hard to say this, but I'm just sharing my testimony at a young age because I was just open for whatever. It's a good thing I didn't get kidnapped or something. You know what I mean? And that's God. You know what I mean? I'm older man. I'm running away from them. They trying to touch on me and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Of course, involved with sex at a young age because I'm out there on the streets. I'm 9. I'm hanging out with 15, 16-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 30-years olds. You know what I mean? Getting socked on by out here getting in fights at the age of 7 and 8, and I mean at the age of like 8, as early as 8 and 9 and 10, getting in fights with those dudes that are 16. They socking on me and stuff like that. And not that I'm a victim, but this is how God kept me. I mean, I was always in a life and death situation. It seemed like, I mean, I was always near like a near death situation. It seemed like all the way back to like 8 years old. And so let's go back. And now I'm older, I realize what a witch is. And a witch is someone that divides the family up, and I see it. I used to be cool with some of my siblings, but all of a sudden I would call them and they don't want to answer, and all of a sudden we got division, we can't get along, we're crap. And I used to hang out with some of my siblings and we was cool and all that, but I realized that it was the older folks that they were operating in witchcraft. You know what I'm saying? And witchcraft, it can just be someone that got jealousy, hatred, or something, bitterness in their heart, and they just spewing curses. I hope you ain't gonna be nothing in life. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be just like your dad. And I didn't even know how my dad was too much at that time. I thought my dad was good. I was like, okay, whatever, but I didn't know how to rebuke it. And you always gonna be, you just gonna be a thug. You're gonna be in the system and all this and that. They would just say stuff like that. And who knows what they was telling my other siblings, my cousins and stuff that I used to get along with at a young age. You know what I mean? But anyway, uh, it seemed like they favored all them. They can call auntie and them and get $200 when I call, all the way up until this day. You know what I'm saying? When I call, I got to get all these different excuses. Tell me the exact amount you need, and show me documents and all this and that. When somebody else can just call, I've seen it. I'm looking at my cousin just called my auntie, and bam, she sends $20. She send them $200 or $100 and stuff like that. Me, I get the phone hung up on me and all this and that. And check it out, on the real. Even if I did do something wrong, that what could I have done at this age? You know what I'm saying? What could I have done? Most of my siblings are older than me. You know what I'm saying? So no, I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing to her daughter or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do nothing. I did nothing, and I realized it was just Satan. You know what I mean? That dude's been after me ever since I was young. I mean, I had the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck. I wasn't breathing, and so I could have died coming out of my mother's womb. So I don't necessarily blame them, but at the same time, God puts before us life and death. And it's just like, I can remember just, um, so, man, I'm gonna have to, my testimony is really long, but I'm just sharing a little bit of how God had kept me, out there on the streets, and, you know what I'm saying, running away from sexual abuse, running away from, older dudes trying to molest me and stuff like that. I always kind of looked good at a young age, you know what I'm saying? So, I was a cute little dude, you know what I mean? And trying to get away from them, and of course running into women, involved with all kinds of, smoking weed at 11 years old because they're telling me to hit this, and I think I even started drinking at like 12, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm just out there. I'm exposed to everything. I'm just exposed to the world at a young age. What you doing, little dude? Come over to our house and stuff like that. And I'm thinking I'm trying to play with their with friends that are 3 years older. They trying to do some weird stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I had to get away from there, and I left sexual abusive situations just to go and hang out with thugs and gangsters, and you know what I mean, and killers and all this and that. You know what I'm saying, man? So. Uh, you know, it's even I see God's mercy on them. I sometimes sit back and wonder how did they, how does God allow this to happen? But you know what? It was all for His purpose. It built me up into the man I am today. You know what I'm saying? So my dad was over here, my mom was over here. My mom, I would come, every time I acted up, my mom would get and I do have to say she had an eyesight problem, you know what I mean? But she would always get like other men, I don't know if she was dating these men. She had male friends and female friends that she would hang out with, and she would get them on me. They whooping me with extension cords. They chasing me down in the yard when I'm acting up or whatever, and beating on me. You know what I'm saying? Getting the little pine trees, getting branches off them, whooping my butt. You know what I'm saying? you know, she was I remember her sending this male friend named George to come and get me. He talking down on me crazy, saying this and that. I don't know what curse words he was speaking out of his mouth. I can't remember, but I'm dealing with this at 9, 10, 11, 12. At the age of 10, like I said, I got locked up for a little bit, got out from the age of from 11 to 13. I'm in like the system. Deborah Clea Wallace somehow got locked up in the system. Instead of fighting for me, instead of saying I'll be able to deal with it. And I understand because she had a little eyesight problem, but she just said no, he's bad. He needs to go. He needs to go away. She just sided. She always sided with the court. She always called the cops on me. You know what I'm saying? Instead of having a relationship with my dad, they always was fighting ever since I was little. I mean, ever since like 2 or 3 years old. I remember I would say probably 5. I remember my dad coming over to my mom's house sometime and cooking and stuff like that. But other than that, like there was a period I didn't even know where my dad was. You know what I'm saying? And she would every time she had a problem with me, she would call the police. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes they would lock me up, sometimes they wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? And so anyway, she called the police on me one time. I'm 11, and I'm gone from 11 to 13. No, she called the police on me even at 10. Um, and so that's when I went to the Gilliam. You know, if you're in Colorado, it's pretty much juvenile hall. It's juvie county. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I'm in there. I remember going to court, and I'm in there with gorillas. You know what I'm saying? I'm 10. You know what I'm saying? I'm in there with dudes 16. We in there holding cell. Woo, they say they yelling. Woo, 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 I'm from there. I'm from here. I'm from there. Woo, 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 woo. You know what I'm saying? And all this craziness. You know what I'm saying? I remember coming back from court one day, and the 17-year-old asked me, I'm Tim, if he can have my snack. I said, nah, you can't have my snack. I'm hungry. He said, what? You better give me your snack. I said, I can't give you my snack. And he started saying, I'm gonna whoop yo, he was looking at me serious. I ain't gonna lie, my heart was thumping. I mean, this dude's 17. He's a grown man. He got beard and everything. And I'm 10. You know what I'm saying? He said he gonna beat my whoop whoop. Yeah, as soon as we get these cuffs off, I'm about to mix you. I'm about to do you in. I'm about to punch on you. He was just saying, threatening me crazy. I'm crying inside. I'm like, oh Lord, help me. Anyway, he didn't do that somehow, because he was another pod. Somehow God did something. The guard broke him up. Or as soon as we got off the bus, he was on this side of the line. I was at the other end of the line. So God saved me there. He just kept saving me. You know what I'm saying? From abusive situations that could have just got way out of hand and taken my life. You know what I'm saying? And, it's like I would always find myself in a traumatic situation to where I could have basically killed myself. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. Maybe, based on YouTube, but or someone could have did me in. You know what I'm saying? You can't even make this stuff up. That's why really I should it would take me forever to, not forever, but now that I think about it, a lot of stuff I forgot, but I believe it's time. God wants me to share some of this. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember, at 13 I got out, and I'm still on probation and stuff. I go home, same abuse. Every time my mom had a problem with me, she would call the cops on me. Call the cops. She kept calling the cops, calling my PO, trying to get me back locked up. And I remember just leaving the streets, you know what I'm saying? I mean, leaving my mom's house, going to the streets, you know what I mean? Heading downtown, hanging out in the bad neighborhoods and stuff like that. I'm 13 years old, like, same thing. Folks 23, 30 years old, 17, 18, 19. Of course, a couple people my age. We smoking, we drinking, I'm sitting at 9 years old because, you know what I'm saying? I'm finding myself open to all kinds of sin at 9 years old. You know what I mean? Just and I started gang banging, I believe, at that age too, 13, and no, even a little bit younger. I say about 12, maybe 11. Yeah, in the system, you know what I mean. Had to pick a side because I kept getting socked on and stuff like that. Trying to stay to myself. I remember one time I was in Deborah Clea Wallace, which is like a treatment center, but it's an open treatment center, but it's pretty much jail. If you leave, you're going straight to jail. But it's a little bit better than jail. It's like, I guess it's like a step up program. But we're in there fighting. You know what I'm saying? Anytime they have a problem with you, anytime we have a problem, we couldn't talk it out. And so I realized at a young age, I'm gonna have to just get tough. I'm just gonna have to get tough. I ain't gonna be able to. I noticed at a young age, it don't look like I'm gonna have a normal life. You know what I'm saying? So I got with the shenanigans and getting in fights, winning some, losing some, things like that. You know what I mean? Real fights, bloody nose, knots on the forehead. You know what I'm saying? Black eye. You know what I mean? Busted lip. We're not talking about a couple punches and that's it, or a couple swings. We're talking about some real fights where there's damage being done. At 11. And so, yeah, I think I began to join the gang. And so at 13, I was already basically in the gang, a flag hanging on my pocket, running away from home. At this age, I believe I began to fight back, not physically fight my mother, but I'm cussing. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. I don't give a whoop, whoop, whoop. You know what I'm saying? Leave. And she was just telling me to leave, and you leave. And you know what I mean? I'm calling the police. And eventually I was noticed when we got into an argument. when she's about to call the police, when she walked away or went upstairs or something like that, I was like, oh yeah, that's my cue. Let me go ahead and leave. She's gonna call the police on me. You know what I'm saying? So, it's either deal with the police and what they want to do, if they want to lock me up, or go out here and hang out with the wolves. So I decided, let me go hang out with the wolves. You know what I mean? Because I might end up getting locked up anyway. So let me just go have some fun or something. You know what I mean? Or try to prolong it. So I'm 13, doing, on the bus. Gang members. We fights, all, drugs, what I'm saying, smoking weed, drinking, right, sinning, what I'm saying, fornicating, all that stuff, you know what I mean? At this age, trying to run away from, the perverts, you know what I'm saying, what I mean, the pedophiles and stuff like that, trying to run away and stuff like that. Older dudes trying to snatch me up and stuff like that. But I would fight back, because you got those out there. If you just out there in the world, you got those out there. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know, anyway. So at 13, I remember. So I came back, like, I remember after I left that time, maybe 6 months later, 6 months later. At this time, the reason why I came back is because I had a auntie I thought was auntie, but really she was just called auntie. Somebody in my family when fornicated with somebody, you know what I mean, and and come to find out, she wasn't my blood auntie, but her name was Aunt Louise, and she called me about. But she was one of the aunties that my mom would take me to, and she would treat me good. You know what I mean? This one would treat me good, but she was, come to find out, she was not actually my family. She wasn't my family, but she called me, and she said, "Baby, come home." And she didn't sound good. She sounded really sick. She said, "Go home and all that. Please do it for me," and this and that. That was last time I talked to her. Come to find out, 6 months later or something, 6 to 8 months later, she died. You know what I mean? And it broke my heart and all this. But I went home after that. You know what I'm saying? I went home after I talked to her. I remember I was on the light rail. I'm 13. It's like midnight, 2 in the morning. I'm just trying to find somewhere to go. I'm trying to get warm, because I didn't find nobody's house to sleep over, or nobody's house to go over at that night. I remember her calling me. So the nights that when I was on the run, or at that age, I would sometimes find somebody's house to sleep over, and sometimes I wouldn't. You know what I mean? Sometimes I wouldn't. Um, so I would ride the bus up and down. You know what I mean? Or I would hop on the light rail up and down, because they usually I run all night. You know what I'm saying? Some of them run all night, so by the time morning I can find somewhere to mingle to, or go to someone's house in the morning, something like that. That had someone's house that was my age, or even if it wasn't my age, I would go there. If they offered it, I would go, because I'm trying to find somewhere. I'm just trying to survive. You know what I mean? Um, at the same time, nobody was giving me a job. You know what I mean? I didn't know nothing about a job. My mind so far away from the job. It was just one survival mode episode to the next. You know what I mean? You can't even make this stuff up. Only the Lord knows. You know what I'm saying? So I came back one time, and I was on probation, and I ran. But the reason why I ran is because we had an argument. She said she was gonna call my PO and get me back in the system, and I said, hell, I said, no, I didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? So I just ran. I left. I came back at 13, and she I'm sleeping. I said, I'm sorry, this now. I apologize. She said, I'm sleeping. Remember one time I'm sleeping, I woke up with the police in my bedroom. I mean, I got nothing on in the bed. I have nothing. I'm butt naked. I'm like, can you get out? I'm not going to hop the window. Can you get out so I can put some drawers on? They didn't want to let me do that. I had to get out of the bed butt naked. The police officers are all at the head of my bed. We went to the bathroom. They helped me put my underwear on. You know what I'm saying? They, just getting violated, you know what I'm saying? Just getting violated, you know what I mean? I'm in cuffs trying to put my underwear on. They helping me, you know what I'm saying? So they're all near my crotch and my butt, you know what I'm saying? And she helped me put my and then they helped me put my shirt on, and I'm trying to squeeze through it. I didn't even get to put my arms through it, you know what I mean? Like, I just put the shirt on, you know what I'm saying? Because I had my handcuffs on. I had my handcuffs on, so they just putting the shirt on. Bam. From 13 to 16, I was, I went to, I was locked up. You know what I mean? They call it committed at a young age. And at an older age incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? So I went to DYC, which is Division of Youth Corrections, and for the adults is Division of Corrections. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kid prison. You know what I mean? We doing the same thing besides stabbing each other, and even that was happening. We fighting, we rioting. You know what I mean? It's not kid like you think. We're you know every other day I was getting into a fight, whether it was just socking on each other's bodies, like catching the bodies. That's basically punching each other as much as you can, and whoever falls on the ground wins. You know what I'm saying? Loses, or whoever gives up or folds loses. You know what I mean? And sometimes real fights. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we in juvenile hall, and then and then there's this place called Montview I went to. That's where I did my 2 years. We fighting, we punching on each other. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I will win, sometimes I won't. Busted nose, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff, anything you can think of, black eye, knots on the forehead, knots on the cheek, you know what I mean, busted lip. I would give it, and I would dish it, and I learned how to. That's how I learned how to fight, because I just kept getting in fights, You know what I'm saying? And so at that time, you know. Sometimes I'm getting in fights, and see, this is how I know God was just with me the whole time, because sometimes I'm getting in fights with dudes that are 16, 17, and I'm 13, and or they might be way bigger than me. I'm like, man, this dude look like he about to mow me down, and I would hold my ground good, and sometimes I will win. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, I saw God in the little details. It's just how He just kept saving me out of traps, and stuff that could have just blew my mind. You know what I mean? To the point of no return. It's amazing I'm not in a mental home. You know what I'm saying? And just my life has just been up until this point, basically hell on earth. To be honest with you, any situation you can think of, just name it, I was in it, um, getting jumped for real. You know what I mean? To where I'm busted up, knots on the head and stuff like that. So I don't think I need to go too far into what from 13 to 16. There will be more parts to it, but this is just a little bit of how God kept me. You know what I mean? For some reason, I used to wonder why my family didn't like me. You know what I mean? How do you not like someone that's 5? You know what I'm saying? 6. How are you? You know what I mean? But that's how you know it was a witch. You know what I mean? I'm dealing with older witches in the family. You know what I mean? I didn't know what a witch was at that time, but there's no explanation to why you cussing at. You know what I mean? Why do you treat my siblings better than me? Why? How come every time I do something wrong, I'm getting whooped, I'm getting spanked, I'm getting sent back home, but they get to run around crazy all day? You know what I'm saying? And so I always was treated differently. You know what I mean? Maybe because I guess they saw some in me, or maybe because the witch knew. You know what I mean? Maybe because they were, keep in mind, they're older than me. You know what I'm saying? So maybe they knew this guy's chosen. This guy's gonna work for the Lord and all this and that. I didn't know nothing about that, and I'm just trying to be a kid. You know what I mean? So the truth is I always got abused from my family, and so yes, I got abused out there in the world too, but I was able I think it's easier to get not I even say I always got abused by people out there in the world, but I think it's easier to go through turmoil and one problem after another when you don't know people. It's easier to forgive, or it's easier to mingle. I knew that came with the territory. We gangbanging, we on the street. I think it was more comfortable, you know what I'm saying, than being at home, always getting the police called on me, or going to my siblings' house and always getting treated differently by my auntie, by my uncles and stuff like that. Cousins. I'm 12 years old, gangbanging, and I had cousins that were, I'm talking about 30 years old, talking about they about to whoop, they about to sock on me. Every time my mom had a problem, she would call the cops, or she would send me over to somebody's house that would pretty much threaten me and tell me they're gonna whoop me up and all this and that. I mean, I always was just in problems with older folks. You know what I mean? And I ain't saying I was perfect, right? But to be honest with you, I think at that time I was already traumatized. I was already traumatized at 10 years old. You know what I mean? I was already traumatized by 8 years old. To be honest, I would say 8, as early as 8 and 10. I'm ready to fight back, because I ain't just gonna keep getting socked on. I ain't just gonna keep getting bullied. You know what I'm saying? I don't think anybody's gonna do that. You know what I mean? So I would have a little mouth on me, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I only had that because I just didn't get too much love. To be honest with you, I never felt love. The only time I felt love was when I now that I think about it, God is the only one, Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And when I had my encounter with him at 26, it'll be more parts to it, but I think I'm gonna stop right here. You know what I mean? But I never felt love from really anybody. You know what I'm saying? I never even knew what that was about. You know what I mean? I never felt loved by my mom. Never really felt loved by my dad. You know what I mean? Although they're alive this day. You know, they're alive all the way up to this day, and it's been the same foolishness all the way up into this day. Same foolishness. You know what I'm saying? um, Hatred. You know what I mean? Jealousy. You know what I mean? Favoring other people more than me. You know what I'm saying? Just yeah, just always getting kicked out of my mom's house. Um, You know what I mean? And it's gotten, at this point, it's gotten even worse, but I'm grown, so I don't have to just stick there, but I'll get more into it, all the way, as I got older, come to find out that, my mom was a witch, you know what I'm saying? She's, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. She's, and how do I know this? See, when you get the Holy Spirit, He gives you discernment. He gives you wisdom. You know what I'm saying? And I'm wondering why, um, all of a sudden I'm having health problems. I'm wondering why all of a sudden I'm having financial problems and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But come to find out, my mom been in cahoots with my auntie who was an older witch. She would tell me, I remember one time, maybe like a year ago, because I asked for some help pay my rent and all this and that, and for my auntie, and she kept hanging up on me, telling me to go through my mother and all this and that, and I got past that situation, I went to go get something from my mother's house. I think some mail. I end up seeing my mom. She asked me, "Whatever, have you talked to Aunt Stephanie on this and that?" And Aunt Stephanie is the witch. You know what I'm saying? She's been the witch that never liked me, never supported me, never, you know what I'm saying, never, she used to take me out to eat here like once or twice and all this and that, and I think maybe that was God convicting her, you know what I'm saying, here and there, you know what I mean, but I never really got love from her, you know what I'm saying, you know, never got love from her, like that, and my other siblings were able to get money from her, and to me, I got to get this big runaround. And she could have just said, "No, I ain't about to help you out." You know what I'm saying? She could that would have been way better. You know what I'm saying? But there was a whole plot. There was a whole plot because I don't know if they went to palm read, some witch tarot card, or talking to Satan himself. But it's like they knew that God had good plans for me, and I didn't even know this stuff. I'm just trying to have a regular life. But um, my mom's paying, my mom paid witches to try to, destroy my life. You know what I'm saying? Um, my dad, um, my dad came. I remember one time my dad, I was happy to see him. He was out of town, had my own place. He came with my little sister, and before I saw him, I mean, keep in mind when I was in the streets, yo, and I'm fast forwarding a little bit, and I'm getting money the wrong way. I used to pick him up when he was homeless. I used to pick him up, let him sleep in my car. It's snowy. He's sleeping in the car. I mean, a nice car too. You know what I'm saying? That's a little heat insulated. You know what I mean? I'm doing the best I can. You know what I mean? Get money the wrong way. I would give him 5, 10 here and there, and help him. Taking him go get some cigars if he needed to, and man, um, one time I was doing, I don't know what was happening. I think it was just witchcraft too. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, I was trying to give my life to the Lord. And I was in a relationship with this woman I even shared in the testimony. I just kept running into witches. I mean, real talk. I kept running into people that were speaking curses over my life. Man, this dude Satan been after me forever. Um, I just kept running into people that just acted like they was there for me, but they wasn't. You know what I mean? Like I said, this woman that I was with at the time, I was 25, 26. She wouldn't help me get a job. Meanwhile, she had a job. I found myself bedridden. You know what I'm saying? Bumps on my body, and stuff like that. But at the same time, she's healthy, and we both. doing what sinners do. So I'm sitting there. This one I knew the spirit world was real. I'm like, what is going on? How come she's not dealing with what I'm dealing with? And we both right here. And I would tell my dad and all this and that. But one time he came back with my little sister. I would find clothes missing. They took a shoe. Come to find out, I used to wonder where my other shoe is. I couldn't find it. You know what I'm saying? It was this purple shoe, and I don't know if it's that one, but they taking shoe, went to go pay a witch to tear my life apart, try to get my destiny exchanged and stuff like that. Man, I've been through hell, you know what I'm saying? Hell on earth. But you know what, God, all the way up to this day, he's just been keeping me, you know what I mean? I'm going to leave it at that, but that's just a little bit of my testimony on how I got way more, you know what I'm saying? I mean, all the way to, people have shot at me with guns while I was out there in the streets, missed me, you know what I'm saying? Getting jumped. I remember one time getting jumped, y'all. One time I'm walking home. I think I was like 23 or something like that, maybe. And I'm walking home with some friends I used to go to elementary school with, and we just caught up, and it's been years, and we got war stories. They talking about how they fought this one of them said how he fought this dude that was 6'5" and 200 pounds, and he knocked him on the ground, all this and that. It was crazy. And ironically, when we were walking home, this car pulled up and flagged us to the, waved us to the car, and I came up to the car, and I was like, yeah, what's up? Do you know me or something? And they showed me this gun. You know what I'm saying? I backed up from the car quick, and they hopped out of the car, and it was two first. They hopped out of the car. They came right to me. They came right to me, and started talking on me. But I'm fighting back. Boom, boom. I knocked one on the ground. You know what I'm saying? And then a third one came after me. And these two dudes that I was just walking down the street with, they was telling me these war stories, how they was getting in fights and stuff like that. No, there's three of them, and one of them was a Hispanic cat, and I don't remember him from Adam. You know what I'm saying? But I'm getting thrown on the ground. I'm looking at him. I'm fighting three dudes at this time. I'm connecting on a couple of them, but I'm getting, at the same time as three of them, I get knocked on the ground. I'm on the ground, and I'm looking up like, man, what are you doing, bro? Y'all gonna help me? They just sitting there like this. You know what I'm saying? They sitting there like this. They spooked. They spooked. I'm like, see, people just be lying. They through their teeth. They just be lying, man. You wasn't in no fights. You didn't fight no dude that was 6'5", 200 pounds, man. You lying, man. Help me. What's happening? and so anyway, I look at them. They froze. I get back up. I'm getting hit in the head, kicked in the head, and all this and that. I had to get back up, and I'm fight, and I get thrown back on the ground again because one went behind me and pulled me down. You know what I'm saying? They don't even want to fight me. Like, it's three of them, and I'm still hanging with them. You know what I'm saying? But I get thrown back on the ground again. The Mexican cat pulls out a knife and say, man, we got to do something. And then he comes over there with the knife, and then they all got up and went back into the car. They didn't do nothing with the gun. They didn't shoot at me that time, and I'm walking home with him. I'm yelling, you know what I'm saying? I'm knotted up. I didn't have no knots in the face or nothing like that, but I'm in the back of the head and on the side of the head. I'm like, man, what's up, man? Y'all ain't do nothing. How come you ain't help me? Woo, woo, woo. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm gonna leave it at that. You know what I mean? The Lord knows. It's hard for me to. These things are even because I've done a lot of healing, so much healing, and God's healed me that it takes me a minute to. As I tell my stories, more is just popping up in my head. I think the Lord just remember that time, remember this time I was with you, remember this time I was with you, remember this time I was with you. You could have lost your life then. I've been in over 30 near-death situations. I can say over 30 near-death situations for real. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, God's just kept me, you know what I mean? But I'm going to leave it at that. I hope this helps y'all, you know what I'm saying? Basically, the moral of the story is God's a covenant keeping God. You know, he's been my protector. He's been my mother and my father, for real. You know, I got a mother, I got a father, but we never. And what's so crazy is I thought me and my dad was cool, but at the same time, come to find out we wasn't. But it's sad because it helps me. I realized that's part of a generational curse, just trauma, not knowing how to love people, not knowing how to love your kids, you know what I'm saying, and things like that, not knowing how to love yourself. So it's sad. You got to pray for people like that. Now that I'm older, now I'm approaching my 30s and stuff like that. I can pray for them and forgive them, but Never had a really good relationship with neither one of them. I had one with my dad. Never had a good relationship with my mother. Never, never. That don't mean we didn't tell jokes here and there or stuff like that. But I'm saying when it came down to it, who's upset and who's not, and who's um, when it came down to being battle tested, when she got upset or when I got upset, or we was never able to get along. We would never ever get along. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. We was never able to get along. My dad, me and him was cool for a while, and then I don't know what happened. I think and then I got a little sister that's 10 years older, younger than me, and all of a sudden she hates me for no reason. I mean, I never did nothing to her but let her ride in my car when I was out there in the streets doing what I was doing. I would pick her up. I would take her to go get something to eat too, and all of a sudden she started hating me for no reason. It's crazy how Satan works, man. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna leave it at that. Hope this helps y'all. Thank you for listening to my story. Area neighborhood. Blessings to you.